In a quiet countryside, wrapped in springtime colors, the morning sun stretches across rolling hills and painted cottages. In the cozy kitchen, Little Red Riding Hood's mother places a warm loaf of bread, a pot of jam, and a slice of honey cake into a wicker basket. Take this to grandmother, and remember, stay on the path and don't talk to strangers. Little Red Riding Hood nods, eager and bright-eyed, promising to be careful. Outside, birds sing in the orchard as Little Red Riding Hood waves goodbye, the red cloak fluttering like a flag of adventure. And this is where it gets interesting. At a crossroads, a wooden sign points toward Grandmother's house. Little Red Riding Hood adjusts the basket on her arm and follows the forest trail ahead. Soon, the cottages disappear behind her, and the trees begin to whisper. The sunlight fades into green shade, and the forest seems to lean in close, curious, listening. Birds chatter high above. The air grows cooler, and just beyond the trees, something is watching. The big bad wolf has arrived. "Good morning," says the big bad wolf, bowing low. "And where might Little Red Riding Hood be going this fine day?" Little Red Riding Hood, polite and unsuspecting, smiles and says, "I'm going to Grandmother's house with bread and jam." The big bad wolf's green eyes sparkle with mischief. "What a lovely idea," says the big bad wolf softly. "And where does Grandmother live?" Little Red Riding Hood points down the winding path. Now the forest holds its breath. The big bad wolf says, "Look, there are two paths through the forest. One is long and safe, and the other much shorter." The game has begun. Little Red Riding Hood takes the longer path, skipping between patches of light. She hums as she walks, the forest echoing softly around her. Meanwhile, the big bad wolf races through the darker path, paws pounding over roots and moss. Owls startle from the branches as the big bad wolf sprints past. Mist thickens in the air. The trees close in like walls, and at the far end of the forest, the big bad wolf finds Grandmother's cottage. The big bad wolf slows to a walk, smoothing down his fur and curling his grin. The big bad wolf knocks gently on the wooden door and calls in a sweet voice, "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood." Inside, Grandmother looks up from her knitting and smiles. "Come in, my dear." The door creaks open. Grandmother gasps. The big bad wolf steps inside, and in one swift motion, the story changes shape. The room falls silent except for the fire. The big bad wolf straightens Grandmother's nightgown and places the cap on his head, hiding beneath the quilt, practicing Grandmother's voice with a crooked grin. Outside, the wind sighs through the lilacs. Footsteps approach along the path, light, happy, and red. And this is where the tension begins to rise. Little Red Riding Hood strolls down the flower-lined lane, humming softly, unaware of the danger waiting just beyond the door. The sunlight turns golden as she knocks. From inside, the big bad wolf's imitation voice calls, "Come in, my dear Little Red Riding Hood." The door opens. The cottage glows warm and familiar. Little Red Riding Hood steps closer to the bed. "Grandmother," says Little Red Riding Hood softly, "are you feeling well?" The big bad wolf nods under the covers, eyes glimmering above the blanket. Little Red Riding Hood frowns. Something feels different. Grandmother, what big eyes grandmother has, says Little Red Riding Hood carefully. The better to see Little Red Riding Hood with, my dear, whispers the big bad wolf. Little Red Riding Hood edges closer, heart pounding. Grandmother, what big ears grandmother has. The better to hear Little Red Riding Hood with. And then, Little Red Riding Hood notices the teeth. Grandmother, what big teeth grandmother has. The big bad wolf roars, throwing off the blanket. The better to eat Little Red Riding Hood with. The firelight flares as Little Red Riding Hood screams and dashes for the door. The basket falls. Outside in the forest, a woodsman hears the cry echo through the trees. And this is where courage enters the story. The woodsman runs, axe gleaming in the sunlight. He bursts through the door, just as the big bad wolf lunges. The cottage erupts in chaos. Furniture crashes. The woodsman swings his axe, blocking the big bad wolf's claws. The big bad wolf snarls and leaps toward the window. Curtains rip, glass shatters, and the big bad wolf vanishes into the dark forest beyond. A faint voice calls from the wardrobe. The door creaks open, and grandmother steps out, shaken but smiling. Little Red Riding Hood runs to grandmother, tears glimmering on Little Red Riding Hood's cheeks. They embrace tightly, hearts beating fast but safe. The woodsman smiles, grateful to see love win again. Grandmother brews fresh tea, her hands steady once more. Little Red Riding Hood sets the bread and jam back on the table, though it's a little squashed now. Little Red Riding Hood turns to grandmother and says softly, "I'll always stay on the path from now on." And as the sun sinks low over the forest, peace settles again. The woodsman waves goodbye, disappearing down the lane with a smile. Birds fly home above them. The world feels safe again. Back inside, Little Red Riding Hood hangs the red cape by the hearth, the same place where all brave stories rest. The forest hums softly, alive, forgiving. If you loved this story, subscribe to our channel for more magical fairy tale adventures. And keep the magic alive. Until next time, my friends.